Oh, wonderful. Hey, Governor Ventura, I appreciate you calling in. I know we talked yesterday, and you said you'd pop in for 10 minutes. Good to talk to you.
Oh, always good to talk to you, Alex. How's it going?
It's going great. We're about to go to break and come back, and I appreciate you giving us 10 minutes when I twisted your arm yesterday. I knew you weren't sure when you could call in, but I wanted to get into Ron Paul with you since we were talking about him yesterday on the phone.
Well, why don't you go to break like you're supposed to and come back and we'll talk Ron Paul.
That's awesome. We got a few minutes right now.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and kick the ball off right now. Wow, the system is in panic mode over him.
Oh, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. He is the only candidate out there, including President Obama, who naturally is going to represent the Democrats, of course, and all of these Republican candidates. He is the only candidate that is anti-war. And this country better wake up to the fact that Alex, I'm 60 years old now, and we have been at war for over half of my life.
And they act like it's bizarre. And
bizarre behavior. Newt Gingrich says he's out of mainstream. This guy's out of touch. Well, if he is, then we are a country of war. But I don't believe so. I believe there's an underlying unrest in this country right now, that we're tired of war, we're sick of it, and I guarantee you pretty much, if any of these other guys get elected, you're going to see a war with Iran.
Oh, you're right. And I want you to repeat all this, recap it, and expand on it. This is about the heart and soul of America. Another preemptive war, lying and saying another country has nukes. It's a total replay of what we saw with Iraq. And Ron Paul is just talking total common sense, and they're acting like that's bizarre, kind of like somebody, I guess, in 1939, if you criticize Hitler.
I can't believe, I watched the debates, and it was interesting a couple weeks ago where he got into a battle with Michelle Bachmann, and Ron Paul made a great statement. He said, imagine where would we be today had John F. Kennedy not talked to Nikita Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis. By the way, that was when Ron Paul was serving in the Navy. And had those two not spoken during that crisis and worked things out, talking, the earth would not exist today.
Let's start over right there, Governor. We've only got him for 10 minutes on the other side. We really appreciate him joining us today, surprise guest. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the InfoWars store at InfoWars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe InfoWars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at InfoWars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there, wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at InfoWars.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. InfoWars.com. All right, joining us for one segment is Governor Jesse Ventura. He's getting ready to go down to Mexico, so he's in a hurry. But I was talking to him privately yesterday about what's happening in the world, trying to find out if he's going to be running for Libertarian. And he just wanted to talk about Ron Paul. So he's here to talk about Ron Paul in this one segment. And then Dr. Doug Rockey joins us, former Minnesota governor, host of the hit TV show on True TV, conspiracy theory, best-selling author. Jesse Ventura joins us for one segment. Governor, we have both parties, hundreds of publications, New York Times, CBS Nightly News, all attacking Ron Paul and saying he's nuts because he doesn't want to attack more countries with made-up WMD stories. They're openly have gotten rid of Posse Comitatus and are announcing secret arrest of citizens with the NDAA. They're in the news saying it's insane that he doesn't want troops on the streets. All of this is happening, and it's like the Twilight Zone. Ron Paul is just a mainline, old-fashioned American, and then we've got the crazies telling us that we're crazy because we don't support total tyranny. Governor, give us your breakdown on this.
Well, it's as simple as this, I think. If people truly are looking for an attempt at change in this country, changing who we are and what we will be in the future, then there is only one candidate, and that is Congressman Ron Paul. He's the only candidate that wants to audit the Federal Reserve. You notice that the other candidates won't even talk about the Federal Reserve. He's the only candidate that wants to talk rather rather than wage war. So I think this will truly be an agenda for the United States of America, an agenda to determine what we stand for. Do we stand for being the most aggressive, warmongering country in the world, who's all set to now to go to war with Iran too? Or are we going to be a country that stands for peace? You know, let's remember the last president that wanted peace and was attempting to get it. There would have been no Vietnam. The Cold War would have been ended by 65, was President John F. Kennedy. And there has not been a president in this country since Kennedy who has truly strived for peace. But Ron Paul is that candidate. And I think about it for a minute. I'm 60 years old now. I was born in 1951. And this country has been at war for life. Over 30 years of those 60 years, we've been at war. And if you look at the other candidates, Ron Paul served in the Navy during the Cuban Missile. But you look at the other candidates, did any of them ever serve? Did any of them ever put their butts on the line? Did they ever go in the military? I don't think so. You know, I don't know for sure, but I'd love to see the military backgrounds of Gingrich and of the guy from Massachusetts,
Romney,
and right on down the line with all of them. And the point of the matter is, they call Ron Paul's foreign policy scary. I call our foreign policy scary, what it's on right now, because all we do is go to war, one after another, and I'm one of the people, being a veteran, who says, stop it. That's enough of this.
Well, polls show that upwards of 70% of Americans are against all of this. The troops give more money to Ron Paul than all of the Republican candidates combined and Obama combined. And the media spins it and says, Ron Paul disgraces the troops. The troops don't like Ron Paul. It's all a hoax. And more, the so-called mainstream media is being exposed as a bunch of political prostitutes who are losing all their readers and viewers.
I mean, if you look at how they avoid talking about Dr. Paul, he can be leading in the polls and they don't do in-depth stories on him. Nothing like that. The media is in the back pocket of the status quo, and I can't emphasize more. If people in this country want a revolution, and a revolution doesn't have to be violent, but if they want a revolution, if they want a change in direction, truly, of where this country's headed, then Ron Paul is the only choice out there right now. Out of the current candidates in the Republican and Democratic field, he is the only one. He's the only one that says we ought to talk before we shoot. Talk first, shoot second. We seem to be living, if you don't do it our way, well, then our way will be we will wage war on you. I mean, look what they're doing in this little strip of ocean over there. Iran's threatening to block it off, and the U.S. has already threatened if Iran does that, we're going to go to war with them, basically.
And look what's happening. Iran, who imports 50+% of its gasoline, they don't have the refineries, it's been announced they're going to shut that off to them, devastating them. And they say, okay, if you shut us off, we'll shut off our territorial waters. So yesterday, they sent a U.S. aircraft carrier through the giant Iranian drill as a provocation. And the Pentagon has said, if you block it, we will attack you. But the West, as Ron Paul has said, is already putting these sanctions on and blockades. You're a Navy guy, and Ron Paul's pointed it out. That is an act of war right there, a blockade.
Absolutely, and what it does, if people go back in history, we did the same thing to Japan. They blockaded Japan. They stopped a total blockade of the country of Japan, which forced Japan truly to then attack us. They were left with two choices, surrender or attack. Japan chose the latter. They chose to attack us at Pearl Harbor. But a lot of people forget we forced their hand at Pearl Harbor by the blockade we had against them. And the same holds true with Iran now. We're blockading them, we're forcing their hand, and they're, all of these candidates just wait and hope that Iran will do something, that Iran will respond, so that then they can all stand up there and say, see, we told you, all the problems of the world are because of Iran. And now we're getting them.
Meanwhile, our government, as you know, has overthrown them at least 2 times evidence of a third as well. Shifting gears here because it's the top of Drudge Report right now. Kelly Clarkson, the American Idol winner, which is about as big as it gets nowadays in America, says she loves Ron Paul. It's a big deal when prominent celebrities, not just governors, that's even more important, endorse Ron Paul. I haven't seen any news where they've given your support to Ron Paul. Do you want to publicly state, Governor Ventura, that you are endorsing Ron Paul?
Absolutely. I'm an independent, and I don't, get involved with either political party, because I despise both of them. But out of all the candidates out there in these two major parties right now, that's the president with the Democrats and there's 7 or 8 Republicans, whoever they all are. I know who they are, but why list them? Ron Paul has Governor Jesse Ventura's endorsement without a doubt. It's not even close, because I want a new president that's going to change the direction of this country. I want a new president that's going to follow the Constitution. I want a new president that's going to believe in states' rights. I want a new president. I want somebody that will shock the status quo.
Yes.
And Ron Paul will do that. Then the only thing we have to worry about is keeping him alive.
Well, what a dangerous precedent where both political party leadership say anybody who could ever potentially be a threat, we've got to preemptively attack them. That's what Hitler said. He said, I've got to attack France and I've got to attack Poland and I've got to attack England and the Russians because they might attack us. That's what tyrants always say.
Let me give this one out to you. Hypothetical situation, Alex, for all you and your listeners. Let's say Hugo Chavez down in Venezuela, who's got a lot of money, and he fears the United States because of our military buildup and all this, and he fears that we could attack them at any moment because he kicked out Exxon. Well, what if Hugo Chavez went and got one of these unmanned drones? And what if Hugo Chavez flew that unmanned drone over United States airspace seeking to get intelligence about our war machine? And what if that drone crashed in our country? I would like to pose the question to every one of these Republican candidates and state this. If you were the president, what would you do if that happened? And I'll bet you their response would sound very Iranian, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, they would probably actually say attack the country. The Iranians...
I agree. I think that the United States, if an unmanned drone flew over our airspace, was using it for surveillance on us and crashed here in our country, just as we did in Iran, we would declare war on whatever country that was and take immediate military response. And it just killed. Nobody asked the question, what gives us the right to fly unmanned drones over other countries to seek intelligence? When we certainly would not allow it here. The hypocrisy of the United States is so ridiculous today, Alex. That's why I want Ron Paul, because Ron Paul will end United States hypocrisy.
Well, you're right, Governor. Expanding on that, we've got to continue to vote for him and support him because that keeps him at the top of the polls and allows him to inject real issues. But now they claim hackers are going to attack, and I predicted this last week, so now the Republicans are going to take all the Iowa votes and count them in secret. That's CBS News reporting that it's now going to be secret, and the feds are going to come in and help. And so...
Isn't that a great excuse? It sounds like weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda in Iraq. That's a big load of BS. What needs to happen in this country is very simple. We need to get rid of electronic voting machines, and we need to go back to paper ballots that can be counted. If you're not capable of filling in the blank, which you've been doing since first or second grade in grade school, every time you take a test, you have to true false. You have to fill in that little circle. If a voter is not capable of doing that, they shouldn't even be voting.
Well, we've only got a few minutes left, Governor, and we won't get to talk to you until you're back from Mexico. And obviously when you get back with a new book coming out in the next rollout of the next season of the TV show. But
that's why I'm bailing out. I want to get out of here before the TV show rolls. I'll be on the hit list when it rolls this year.
well, I want to talk about that.
I get as far out of this country as I can because they're going to be after me.